We create visualizations for our customers, and what that generally involves is taking something that's hard to understand or to explain or needs promoting and creating the right kind of digital content to do that. So that could be everything from an explainer animation through to virtual reality experience or augmented reality. So our real strength is being able to take that complicated stuff and communicate it to an audience using the right technology. My name is Sam Harrison. I'm one of the founders and the managing director of Animersion UK Limited. In the very early days it was just animation that we did, even though I'd been developing VR and my business partner at the time had been doing computer games. In the early days, since there were just a couple of us, it was just animations, but we always had an aim to do virtual reality and those things. The challenge for us is moving with the times, continually staying just ahead of the technology curve, because our customers look to us to provide them with advice and guidance. So every month is a change really in terms of new technology, and that's the one thing I'd say to anyone that wants to get into what we do, is that you never stop learning. The benefits for me to being in Middlesbrough was, well, firstly this is where I'd studied, and so it was a kind of an organic transition, and for us the sorts of companies there are in the North East are those that we serve. So there's a market for us here, which has been great. There's also a great pool of talent.
I'm Jacob Stokes. I'm a junior 3D artist at Animersion.
I'm Natalie Reid and I am the Sales and Marketing Coordinator at Animersion.
My name is Cedric Falk and I'm a software developer at Animersion.
I grew up in Halifax in West Yorkshire, and I just kind of went to school around there, went to college around there. Was always big into using Photoshop. I got into Photoshop when I was in about year 7, so I was using that quite early on, and then when I went to GCSE I did graphic design and IT. My parents wanted me to go to sixth form, so I did a year at sixth form doing like maths, physics and chemistry, and I did terrible. So after that I went to college and I did my college in IT, I think, and then after that I went into university to do games.
So I'm from Cleveland and I went to Weston Park School, and I went on then to college, St Mary's College, to do my A-levels, and then on to university. It didn't work out at university, so I kind of then took the apprenticeship route. I've worked for Animersion for 5 years now, just over 5 years, and I was attracted to this job through, I started off in Digital City, so I was well aware of the sector and aware of Animersion, and had a relationship with both Dominic and Sam Harrison, the managing director. And when a position came up, through the network, I was aware of that, so I was contacted by them and kind of got the job that way.
I grew up in Hong Kong. I finished my secondary education in Hong Kong, and then I studied abroad in the UK at Teesside University. And originally, actually, I started my university in Hong Kong, and there was an exchange program, and then I was an exchange student. So the second year, I came to Teesside University, and I decided to stay. And then at our graduate showcase called Expo Tees, and then our Animersion find me from there, and yeah, and then I got my job here.
For me, it was a big interest in how the media I consumed. For me, I wanted to know how that worked and how do the 3D models in the game work. So I was really into Star Wars as a kid, and I was always super interested in how the VFX worked. So when there's the big space battles, how do the artists actually make those big space battles?
I started my career actually back from my secondary school. So I was a freelancer web developer. So I found it was interesting, and I started just my own habit, like hobby.
Here I work primarily in visualization. So it's one of the projects I've been working on, I was working on sort of visualizing houses which get put into VR. Now I'm working on some mining kind of stuff. Particularly here, it's a real mix. It can change on sort of week to week, depending on what I'm doing, what I'm working on. There's a real range of things that I get to do.
Coding actually is communication between the computer and now I would call it a language. And the good thing is we can express our ideas through a computer, through a digital format, and that is part of what the coding could do. And it's not only if you like, not only in our sectors, but also like finance and like those sectors. A lot of the industry actually they encourage their staff to learn coding to actually do some like understanding of how their computer works.
We have a really tight culture here, so we tend to kind of keep social activities sort of regular. Obviously we've now took that, we're all working virtually, we're all working from home, but we still kind of come together all the time to make sure that we're making time for each other. Do what you enjoy and do it for that reason, and also consider that if you do want to work within this kind of sector, that there is other opportunities. It doesn't just have to be that development. You can go on to work within operations or within finance, or there is administration. Businesses do need all the different kind of functions for the business to run, and they're all as important as each other.
So if you want to do what we do, firstly you've got to be passionate about computer graphics, about VR, about animation. If it's not something that you're naturally predisposed to be delivering, you probably wouldn't excel in the industry. So you've got to have passion, you've got to have drive. I think you need to be curious, you need to be someone that's looking at new things that interest you and wanting to figure out how they work, why they work. You've got to be self-driven and creative, I think, ultimately. There's also the potential now for people to think about staying in the region. This region's always suffered from a massive brain drain, people going down to London because they think that's the only place you can do what we do. And actually I think the world's changed now. As everyone knows, you can have a great career from home. So actually I'm really hoping that over the next decade or so we see a lot more of the talent stay in the area and contribute to the cluster. I would say to any young people, I suppose, follow your dreams and start to make them real. Certainly in the realms of digital, all of the stuff that you need to be able to do great projects now, you can probably obtain for free. So if this is what you want to do, start now. Don't wait for the right course. Just have a look online and get involved.